No.
And yeah, if things like the swashbuckle have to be used to get away from your damage, he's not poking you, and he's definitely not using those abilities to secure last hits either. Whereas the Primal Beast is still going to have Uproar, he's still going to have that damage, he's still going to win if you try to trade him out on right click. So I don't like that you're convincing me that this is going to work, ET, but somehow you are, and I kind of hate you for it.
Well, and maybe, the little matchups as well. If you ever do swashbuckle Primal Beast, that's a pretty fast way to get all your uproar stacks immediately because
It's
it's all
true.
physical. So I don't know. But that has been, I think, a field where a lot of teams are still filling out Primal Beast. I mean, even earlier today, we got to see what Jug versus Primal Beast means and how that can or cannot be the answer. And the cut, very simply, do go for the Terrorblade, a hero that's been respect banned out for Scourge pretty much the entire tournament so far. But I don't know. I like what Ravens have. I like the amount of magic damage. I like that this Primal Beast is going to get active. And that's where I think now, if I'm the cut, we maybe need Nick on somebody who's just going to run around like a madman. And I guess that is the other option is if Nick is going to have to play this hero and maybe reaction wise to that Primal Beast, I wonder if they do put the Pango in the off lane just so they don't give him all those uproar stacks every swashbuckle. That'd be kind of sick if they read into it that much, but at the same time, Nico's so good at the Pango, I could see them throwing him into anything and still probably finding a draw in his lane. But they do need another space maker right now, and they do need even just somebody for the Marcy to bounce off of. It's where I think it really doesn't feel nice to put Nick on this Pango, but if they have to, they can. So that's where the Quap Bane probably comes from. But
Yeah.
then Pango Marcy just does not sound like a very good time versus Enchantress.
It feels like Ravens have really kind of backed their opponents into a bit of a corner here. As you said, that Queen of Pain ban coming out because they know, hey, are you sure that you want to do this? Are you sure that you want to play into our mid matchup here? Maybe you don't, in which case, yeah, they start banning away some of those options that would do a little bit better. And I don't know. How much does Nico love the Pango, right? Because it could still go, okay, it couldn't go great in the middle lane against Primal Beast, but he could still eke out enough, maybe draw that lane and just kind of shove off either for ganks or for jungle farm if he needs to. So they don't have to go for that sort of nuclear option of drafting another mid laner if they don't want to.
Yeah, and we will have to see because, of course, the cut, they have last pick. It's also why the cut have drafted in this fashion because they do get the last say. They do get to say, okay, this ended up being unmanageable. We can move things around. We get to do something. And that's where Ravens do not have that same luxury. Very simply, they just need to pick a carry that's going to be able to play up versus that Terrorblade, of course, into TB. That knocks out your Medusa, that knocks out your Luna, even to a certain extent, I think knocks out the Drow Ranger just because you already have so much grab right now from the cut. It would feel like a little bit of a risk, I think, to put Dad on that type of hero, which does put away a lot of heroes. It's where I am kind of scratching my head here, thinking about what they would necessarily want to play into the Scourge McDuck TB, but I don't know. It's kind of a tall order. I think that's one of the downsides of waiting this long to pick up your carry, but
Ooh.
that's where we're going to have to see. And they skip a ban. They run out of reserve time. So Ravens, they're also thinking pretty hard here. That is very rare.
A little too hard. Yeah, at a certain point, boys, a decision does have to be made, or I guess it doesn't, and you just don't get the ban at all. So very rarely do we see that. It happens like once every like 6 months or something, but eh. If you're Ravens, at least it's back here towards the end. You know most of what your opponent's lineup is going to be. It's unfortunate that you missed that final opportunity, but we'll see whether or not it actually hurts them as the cut use their final ban on the Dawnbreaker. So it's been an interesting sort of difference in philosophies, ET, for teams in terms of A, whether they pick the Dawnbreaker in the first place, and then B, where they actually run it. Because some teams will not touch it as a core, and other teams only really exclusively use it as a core.
Yeah, and of course, that is a very specific ban to Dad. You don't want to give him that.
Oh,
And they turn around and they go for the NP. Now, again, Ravens have picked Dad this at Nature's Prophet in really rough situations, and this is a hero that is just going to open up the map, just going to make your tier 2s and your tier 1s fall even faster. But at the same time, this is the second time they've purposefully picked this Nature's Prophet into a carry matchup that just does not win. You do not win by going late here. You have to have either a really good game yourself or make sure you are constantly putting pressure onto this Terra Blade. This is not the same style that Ravens is really that comfortable with. And there you go. There's our changeup in the final phase here. And we've seen, well, Primal Beast versus Timbersaw before, and Primal Beast still ends up winning it all. But I think this is a super solid hero for Nick. Somebody who's going to bust open those first tier 1 towers, immediately puts pressure onto the tier 1 top, rotates towards mid, ends up opening up that map. And now you have somebody to get in front of your towers whenever that NP push comes through. Really super nice pick for them to pick up here.
Work out a little bit better for them than maybe some of the alternatives that we were talking about. In the meantime, I do want to point out something now that you see it on your screen here. We were wondering sort of who's who because players weren't tagged up in the lobby. It is Genek in here for Ravens instead of Dismar, so I don't think that matters too much. Genek's still, you know, more than capable, especially on the Rubik. He's going to be just fine, but worth pointing out in case you see a name that you weren't expecting. But yeah, ET, I don't know. There's something to be said for innovation and experimenting, but it just feels like Cut's lineup is more straightforward and frankly easier to pull off.
Yeah, and I think Gannick's going to be right at home here. It's kind of funny to see him. At least in my mind, he's kind of like the SA stand-in of the century. He just comes out of nowhere, especially later on in tournaments. It's just like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Pick me a ranged hero. It's not that same style that I think Dismar really likes to play, which is a little bit sad because I think Dismar, especially in his Doom, has been one of the more interesting fours to watch in this tournament. But that's where Gannick has all but perfected the ranged for sit back, make smart trades, don't really lose any lane that you're in. His Kato and his Rubik are fantastic. It's really, I think, one of the biggest benefits. You even see, yeah, still with the Infinity tag. It's funny. I think all of these players at least once have had the team tag attached to them, their names. Because SA Org's just always willing to make those roster changes that sometimes you don't see. And honestly, we haven't seen in NA. There really hasn't been too much changing, I think, for a lot of teams that find that, I think, like 2 or 3 core players, they just end up being on a roster forever, which is kind of nice. A little bit of a toxic atmosphere for the longest time in NA where you just would be on a team until you were kicked and then never be on another team again. But
Yeah. Closest we got was, what, there was that like span of a couple of months where I think like 5 rat 2 based in the cut traded like 4 or 5 players, but that was sort of a one-time thing, whereas in SA players kind of bounce around quite a bit until they find their home. But well, it means that there's a lot of talent floating out there. Part of the reason why, like you said, Gennek just gets to sort of play some matches with Ravens here, and hopefully we don't jinx him, but as you also said, that is sort of his specialty. He plays a very efficient style, doesn't eat too many unnecessary deaths. As speaking of potential deaths, Yengo Flow, he's too far forward. Uproar is not going to do him enough good here. He is almost certainly dead. Fairy Fire buys him some time, but he will still die. Pingu has to take the kill himself, which maybe wasn't quite what the cut wanted, but it's better than missing the kill. And now Kara, he's going to get beat up a little bit. There's another Nova in a 1-second span. Body blocks, though, going to help out.
yeah, he's able to walk away. The Treants are very obnoxious. And unfortunately for Pingu, 2 Crystal Novas. Again, he's got the mangoes. He's going to buy even more mangoes with that gold he was able to get from the first blood. But we are in a trialing situation. Yeah. They're saying that Nick's going to be fine, and you're versus a Beastmaster who has a very slow ramp up. So we'll see. I don't feel like they want to keep this forever, but okay. They keep on hitting the 2-man connects onto these spells, and they're running out of life here.
Yeah, does he have... Oh, no, of course he doesn't. We saw he used the impetus, so no Nature's Attendants to heal them up, no Enchant to slow anyone down if they come knocking, and no Sprout to physically block anyone either. This is very dangerous in the early stages, which I guess explains why the cut wanted to go for it. There's the rebound again, the slow to follow. Scourge gets the right clicks in, and B-God finishes the kill.
Yeah, and this is a really tough situation. This is where if that large camp is actually able to spawn, you just get the pull going, and then suddenly you have 2 heroes standing in front of you, so you can't even farm the pull once it actually happens. Is where B-God will probably try to scout it out in the very least, but there's no small camp. Kara's stuck underneath the tower with Dodge, just trying to make any trade happen onto Scourge, but This is a great start for the cut.
Hmm. And to just sort of drive the final point home, looking up top, Nick, he doesn't care. Maybe he puts an extra point into the reactive before any sort of damage spells just to be safe, but BTS and Genic don't have the damage that they would need to actually burn through him quickly. As speaking of burning through, Dodd gets picked off. Down bot, it's the same combo, and again, this time they had the dispose as well to really push him out of position, and well, the cut are feeling pretty damn good. Kara, at least able to get a bit of a D-ward down there. Okay. Big God says, yeah, that's a nice D-ward. Why don't I just D-ward your D-ward, and you're still blocked.
And Kara did get lucky. Probably the best creep he could have gotten to make this lane just a little bit better. But, again, that's where the pull comes through, though. And there you go. The reason why CM is the answer to the creep. He's got one more in the camp, so at least he's got another chance at that Satyr. But at the same time, this is just beautifully done by the cut.
A nice call to make there. In the meantime, well, how are we doing mid here? How's the Primal Beast working out? The answer so far, not so bad. So we did kind of predict this a little bit, right? Nico, this is not an easy matchup for him to work with right now. His focus seems to be entirely on just focusing on his farm. He's not going to really win too many fights against the Primal Beast, so just take what you can. And speaking of taking what you can, Ravens are actually going to get onto Nick, so well, that's my mistake. I said before I didn't think they would have the damage, and this is why. They completely ignore the boar. Ben Justice goes for a second point in the axes, and that's enough for them to find that kill, but it comes at a cost once again. Second death down bot for that Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, and this is just going to continue. We're going to keep on seeing the last hits get higher and higher for Scourge, and the last hits for Dodd just aren't going to be there. At least you're an NP, right? So you can rotate around eventually. You can kind of let your abilities carry you once you have enough levels, especially to show up to the Beastmaster's lane. But this is not fun. This is not a nice spot to play in. Pingu did get bullied out of blocking the camp, but then you forced Dodd to block the camp, so good stuff. But mid...
Can he get this? Nico already swashbuckled. Okay. Good play from Ray. Oh, good play from Ravens. Better play from Pingu. TP's in. Gets the root under the tower, and if you're Nyengo Flow, you still found the kill first, right? That's a big play for him, but you don't get away cleanly.
Yeah, and we'll see, because now supports are getting a little bit more active. They're rotating around, and that's where, if there's anybody to save bottom, it really is Genic. It's where very easily you take that level advantage that you get from playing in a dual lane, and then you can use that, your damage, your disables, move to the other side of the map where they should be a little bit starved, and then you can make a play happen. But in the meantime, it looks like instead we're just going to focus on the macro game and just get these stacks going.
Pingu's on it already. What is that? Just 2 at the moment. Or, yeah, 2. Jeez. Got a little confused for a second. It's going to be 3 now as Pingu stacks it up and then makes his way down to try and help out B-God, who has gotten into a bit of a rough spot, but he's got the rebound. He's going to make it out. Scourge comes in for the slow, but does he really want to fight? There's no meta. And with Genic coming in, it might be time to pull this one out. We've got try-on-try action now, and without the advantage in terms of numbers, this becomes a little more difficult for the cut.
Yeah, and you don't want to throw away your lead. I think B-God in going all the way out with the rebound, definitely a smart choice. But the support's rotating mid. Gotta be careful. And, oh, Nico, he just used everything. Oh, again, though.
This is going to be awkward. Can they finish him off? They need someone to help him. He's taking the damage. Is it enough to kill him off, though? He's not dead yet to dispose. Well, it doesn't actually save Nico as Kara gets the kill, but they're at least able to trade it out. Now, if they get the Enchantress, okay.
Pingu
2 for 1.
Kill.
5-0-2 Crystal Maiden. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and the only reason that that happens is because, as we saw, I think a few days ago when we saw the Primal Beast mid, you can cancel your own onslaught with the bottle. So just bottling underneath the tower there with the onslaught damage, I feel like they just get to walk away with that. I feel like the kill happens so much quicker, but...
Hold on a second.
Bottom, yeah, TP'd out. Frostbite, though, Pingu's just stopping every play right now.
Oh, Pingu is the MVP of this match, and we're only 6.5 minutes into it, but just an incredible level of activity, and now they're going to try to make a play onto Dodd. They're going to hit him up with a rebound. They've got the root, they've got the kill, and unfortunately, this duo, Nyengo Flow and Kara, they just get a little too far away. It's a narrow window, but they make it work.
No, they go for a walk, and then look over at mid with Nico just playing behind the tower.
Hmm.
Doesn't actually have enough damage to kill Genic without the Orb of Corrosion, which is flying out on the courier, but will be a little bit chill. But yeah, the Primal Beast just is not hitting its mark right now.
Go gets the ward. Meanwhile, switching over to net worth. Pretty damn good. All three of their cores in the top 4. Beastmaster has been farming because he's just alone in the top lane, but mid, there is going to be a fight. Genic is taken down. Yengo Flow does manage to get off the Pulverize, and that should be B-God's death. Yeah, they will be able to finish him off, but they want more, and they will get it. Last half second of Trample, I think, coming in there to help as they turn a 2-for-1 in their own favor, and, well, that Satyr is just going to get kind of wasted, but it saves the rest of the creep wave, so there's some damage on the tower.
Oh my god, Pingu's gonna be like level 7 at 10 minutes in this game. It's so funny. It's actually so great to see because, I mean, anybody who's watched a lot of NA knows Pingu's the feeder. But top, yeah. Oh, there's no way you survive it. And this is where Primal Beast, he's got 4 points in Trample. He is online, and he's ready to make those easy rotations. It's something that Nick himself did so well the other day on his own Primal Beast. You just got to be very careful. Otherwise, you can start to snowball the game in the other direction. And even then go flow and walking back top, they're trying to catch Nick in a huge mistake here. He doesn't want to TP bottom. He doesn't want to kick out his own TB. So unless the cut bring everything for this fight up here, this could be a pretty bad death.
He's not making a decision just yet. There's the TP. It's pretty far back.
Need Pango.
Can they converge correctly? Because B-God actually popped already, so this is going to get a little awkward, but they do initiate. They're onto the Beastmaster. Benjas dropping low, but there's another fight off to the side. Nico's dangerously low. The Pulverize is going to catch him. They will be able to finish off that kill. 1-for-1. Genic. Okay, he stole Shane. Pingu, meanwhile, channels out the ult. They'll find 2 kills. It's a triple for Nick. Can he somehow get an Ultra here? Genic does have Chain, so I don't know if he's really going to be able to chase. Yeah, he will give up. But hey, that is going to be a win, or it would have been a win, but Dodd's able to find himself an extra kill with the ult, and that's going to kind of even things out a little bit more.
Yeah, get the trade on the B-God. Just with that Nature's Wrath coming through, they would have loved it in the team fight. Probably would have made the kill on the Pango a little bit less tight, because he gets that Rolling Thunder off. You probably don't lose anybody on the cut, but no, it was a good response. Sad that, again, you don't get that Rolling Thunder off, but you bring everybody back up here from the Raven side, and I think it's going to be very obnoxious, but you need to get the Roar off, and oh, they might get it. He's got the Stolen Freezing Field as well, so you're just going to die to magic damage. Yeah.
Nick goes down, but over on that other side, B-God, it's the same play over and over, even without the Crystal Maiden this time. Rebound in, dispose into Scourge's damage, and slow is just too much for that Prophet to handle. What is he at now? He's at 1-4 on the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah. Not the best of times. He's getting a Midas as well. I think the same build. I remember him going the last time he played NP. Just the, okay, my lane sucked. I'm going to go for something else. Who cares? Because Midas is just the no cares item to go for so far in this patch. But we're pressure now. 10-minute carts. They're also going on mid, though, but a little bit too far.
Tried to curve it a little bit there, but only so much you can do to change that angle. That was a Wrath of Nature that just flew through there for, quite frankly, minimal damage. It didn't really hit anybody of importance. It didn't really stop this push bot either, so the cut are going to feel kind of safe. Yengo Flow, though, does TP in, and he's going to look for the fight. There's the Onslaught. He doesn't have the mana for the Pulverize, though, and he now realizes that, but there's the Freezing Field out from Pingu into the Rebound Dispose combo. And this is going to go pretty terribly. Yengo Flow now has the mana for the Pulverize, but it's not enough damage. He gets rooted up by Pingu, and it's another multi-kill for the CM. ET, what the hell is happening?
Pingu's just balling out of control, and you can't ask for a better hero to be snowballing. Not just that, but you give the tome over to B-God. The cut supports are cores. They are fearsome. They are actually just going to kill you wherever you show onto the map. They're the same level as their mid laner right now.
Oh my god. It's not supposed to happen, and now B-God's got maxed out Sidekick as well. Originally it was for the TB in the lane, but you throw that onto someone like Nico too, and okay, hits harder, farms faster, everything's looking good, and as you said, that is the benefit of having so many levels here. And on the side of Ravens, Well, I'm not really sure what their immediate response is or even should be at this point, ET. Do they try to get aggressive? Because I believe we still have not seen... Actually, no, we had one roar out from Benjaz, but I think it was just the one.
Yeah, and ooh, in the
Okay.
river.
Wrath of Nature comes in. Damage isn't great, but it was at least there, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. B-God's getting slowed up quite nicely, but Yengo Flow doesn't want to go all the way in. Doesn't really have any means to get back in. He already used the Onslaught as a roar gets deployed in the jungle, but it's only a defensive one. Nick just decides to waltz his way into the triangle, and nobody can really stop him.
Yeah, and I think that is the issue. One thing the cut is doing so well is, well, A, Nick is defending, and oh, Nengo Flow, oh, you're just stuck.
Dispose, Root, Rolling Thunder, he's gone. He's out of the fight, and now there isn't any fight to be had. They've just got to back away because they don't have Roar. They used it on Nick earlier. Pingu managed to snag another kill for himself, and Ravens are very much on the back foot. B-God, does he go
Oh,
for
no.
this? Dispose is up. There it is. He's got it. His teammates are coming in, so the rebound could be there as well, but they don't even need it. Nico gets the kill in with the shield crash, and this is getting very ugly very quickly, ET. The cores on the side of Ravens, I mean, they, as of right now, not only do they not have the means to keep up with their opponents, they don't even have the space to try.
Yeah, and I think they've got to walk away from this fight mid. I think Kara's maybe just a little bit too strong, but something that the cut are doing so well is they're just making it almost impossible for Benjaz to get involved. Every single time he goes for the push, which would be your reaction, you would try to defend your tower, you've got a Timbersaw in front of him. So instead, he has to make his own choice, which probably has to be a smoke from the supports to then get to the fight that's actually happening, but he just hasn't made that choice yet. So instead, Benjaz is just locked in a position where he doesn't want to be. Now, instead of pushing or firing out top, he's trying to chase down these heroes that are just walking away, hopping away. And now, top lane's wasted, mid lane's wasted, and your play's dead. So they've got really only two bad choices. You either uproot Benjaz from the top lane, and nobody ends up farming there, or you have a Beastmaster in your team fight, and you need to win that fight. It's just two horrible decisions that you have to make.
And while you debate which of those choices is the best, Scourge is free farming. So,
Yep.
there goes Kara as well. They cross the river for the kill. At this point, ET, like you were saying, they have a decision to make. But if you're Ravens, you have to make a decision. I'm not sure if they should care which one it is, but if you do nothing, Scourge is not going to get caught up to anytime soon. So, whatever the decision is, for better or worse, you need to make it now. You need to commit to something, otherwise the TB is just going to farm you to death.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening. And then we already know that the NP's in a losing matchup. Once you get Scotty, I mean, we're gonna have Scotty on Scourge pretty soon here. And again, the aggression, they just keep making smart moves. And this is in between Benjaz being ready for the fight mid and getting the creeps out top. They just keep on pulling apart really exactly what this Beastmaster wants to do. And he really is the strongest core right there with the Primal Beast on his team right now. Just nothing's happening. No play is going on. They're just always playing reactionary to what the cut are up to and then not punishing. I don't know. This is just such a great start for them.
Yeah, the cut really just feel like they picked apart their opponent's strategy here and reaping the benefits, up 6k, 20 kills in 15 minutes. I believe, was that a blink?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the Pango.
Coming out to him right now. Nope, that's the Crystal Maiden's courier. There it is. So, 15-minute Blink Dagger coming in, and Yengo Flow, I don't think you want to be here. He is only now going to be figuring that out, though, and he might be in some serious trouble, but the focus is not on him. They go all the way in for Genic, so... Targeting priority is a little bit funky, but I suppose they were just kind of banking on the fact that Yengo Flow's not going to commit into that fight against four of us all by himself, so let's just ignore him.
And even though I don't think they could have killed him there, they also just veer away from the Beastmaster just in case he could have gotten roared. And, well, now they know that there's a ward looking over at bottom. Charged on the rune. It's a little bit dangerous while they don't have that Pango roll, but again, the rest of the lineup, they're just walking over each other's feet now, and now you have your Beastmaster and your NP farming in the same lane. That is just not the way to use the map right now. And you have to get back this high ground board. You can't just afford to continuously play on the low ground here while your opponent's CDs are just quietly coming back off cooldown. And there is a full Scotty on Scourge McDuck to top everything off. Oh boy.
God. I mean, I guess he stopped for the Falcon Blade first, but Yasha into Scotty in 16 minutes? Uh, nobody's really going to be able to stand up to him. He's, what, 3k-ish over the Nature's Prophet, and now Gengo Flow's in some trouble. Reinforcements have arrived, though. The supports are in. The Pulverize is quickly canceled, though, and yeah, that's a problem. Pingu channels the Freezing Field, nabbed one of those kills once again, so he's now godlike on a Crystal Maiden. Allow me to say that one more time, folks. Pingu is godlike on a Crystal Maiden. Think about that.
Somebody kill him. Somebody. I mean, whoever does kill him is going to be really happy with their bank account.
Oh my
but
god.
until that happens, well, there's your free Roche. There's your meta committed. Who cares? It's just that easy right now for the cut. The lineup's just executing beautifully. What a different cut as well that we're seeing here. Not the same cut that lost last night versus Felt. This is the cut beating and maintaining speed with their rival, what probably is their main rival in this tournament.
And yeah, that was the big question, right? Because Felt kind of, honestly, sucker punched him a little bit, right? Threw out some stuff that they were not as ready to handle as we thought that they might have been, and it was a shocking O2 loss, but they're right back on the horse, and at this point, this is what we had been liking from them over the first couple of days, right? They had built up that sort of 6-2 record, and now they're showing exactly why they're able to win those previous matchups. And if you're Ravens, listen, it's not time to pack it in just yet, right? They're not waving any white flags. We're not going to get a pre-20-minute GG in this one, I'm pretty damn sure, but the means by which they can mount a comeback here seem incredibly small. It feels like ET right now, the best thing for them to do is try and draw this match out at least another 15 to 20.
Yeah, it's just, I think, in a lot of different cases, just constantly getting punished on what would be their big space maker, that being the Primal Beast. It feels like if Nengoflo hadn't been picked off and killed so many times in this game, maybe things wouldn't look as grim. And something they can for sure play for is this pretty important item timing. They have Helm of the Overlord plus 2 BKBs finished up on their cores, and that'll be their moment to maybe take a team fight here, but a team fight where they need to find Pingu first, they need to find B-God first, they need to kill off these supports before the engagement gets down, and then they still have to deal with the incredibly farmed cores of the rest of the cut, but that's where the questions are still just all there about how they actually get themselves into a team fight. Because it really is just going to be Nengoflo running in, trying to find a huge Pulverize with the BKB. And if you don't win that team fight in that moment, I don't think you win that prolonged engagement.
Right. And yeah, I'm sure there's some people sort of looking at this, and we say they need to try and draw the match out a little bit here, but some people will say, well, there's a Terrorblade on the other side. Drawing the game out's probably not a good thing. And that is still very much true, but Ravens are not getting 8K's worth of gold in the next 5 minutes. There's no way for them to mount the comeback right now, so you're going to have to toe that line of drawing things out until your cores are ready, but still avoiding the point where Scourge is just ready to take the entire game over himself, you know?
Yeah, and they're doing what they need to do. They just got the tower top. The line's been drawn. They're going to route out that top lane as well. And if Scourge can just stay here, he has the Aegis for another 2 minutes. This is one of those pins that you can't really get out of. If you can just constantly send those illusions towards that bottom lane, you get to farm mid, you get to farm bottom, and your teammates, they're not with you mid. Now it's a matter of whether or not they can connect.
Got the Sunder off immediately, though, so they got to get through that health bar again, and then a third time after that, because he does have the Aegis, but let's start with 1 kill. There we go. But here comes the reinforcements. Freezing Field's ready. They're going to root him up. They're going to pop that Freezing Field, and that's... Ooh. That's a little bit of an awkward one, because Yenigoflo is still there. All of his teammates backed off. They all kind of knew what was going down. I don't know if that was miscommunication, or if they just said, hey, we've messed this up already. The second Scourge comes back up. We're dead, so we might as well cut our losses.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
B-God's got the gem. Nick's got to go for it now, and okay, I guess that's your gem.
It's a little bit of a swing. Anybody want it? Anybody gonna set a courier? Anybody even know that it's there? I mean, Nick pinged it out, but the Ravens might not have actually seen it, but they don't care. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've spotted Scourge in the exact same spot that they were able to finish him off once before. And all of a sudden, things are starting to look quite a bit nicer. If they could get Pingu as well, he's still on that godlike spree. Give it to Nyengo Flow. No, Benjaz will take it, but that's a hell of a lot of gold for a Crystal Maiden kill. And, well, ET, I said before, you know, they're not going to get 8K off the back of one play, but that was a couple thousand.
No, that was not too bad. Got that Blink Dagger now finished on Benjaz. He gets to buy it off of the kill of that CM, but also really nice re-smoke there. I think without that smoke, you can't find that angle. They knew exactly what was going on as well, and also maybe a slight punish of the item build coming in here from Scourge, where with Aegis, he felt confident enough, but you might need to turn yourself around, look at items like the BKB or even the Manta, just to have those slight dispels, but you also have one of the bigger mistakes you can make on Pango here, where you gave over your role to that Rubik. There's no Blink Dagger on Genic, but for the next 3 or 4 minutes, your Rubik has Rolling Thunder. He is going to be able to mess up a lot of your initial engagements. Maybe not the Pango's initiation, but the rest of the Cuts lineup can't do anything versus Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue for them in breakup. A lot of what they're trying to do, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, as well as they have played, and they have played incredibly well, Bigot and Pingu will not be tanky. They really can't be tanky. It's just not in the nature of the heroes, so if Genic's able to roll in onto the back of them, that sets up the damage presumably comes from the cores eventually, and then your backline is exposed and vulnerable, so Cut are going to have to be careful. Can't get too far ahead of themselves. Humbled a little bit with that fight, but now they're right back onto the aggression because they're going onto the Prophet. He gets bashed up, trying to TP out anyway, but he won't make it.
Yeah, that's rough. Unable to just walk away simply there, but you know, the Cut have to retreat though. They have to go back to their side of the map, which is still in some ways a success for Ravens, but not yet. Still have to wait for a lot of things, and of course, even though that previous engagement and even a lot of the previous map rotations have been a little bit botched, you are still TB versus NP. The carry matchup is still secured. Your Terrorblade is still incredibly farmed, and he will only go further and further ahead. Just finish up with Satanic as well, you know? Why not?
Not opting for that BKB purchase afterwards, though. He's queued up the Butterfly, so Scourge looking at that last death that he had and thinking, maybe that's just an outlier. Maybe I can get away with no magic immunity, and maybe he's right, but it is interesting to take that risk at this point, but see how it pays off. Is Genic rolling around as a cube? He is about to lose it, so he might as well throw it out there while he still had it.
Yeah, cube is fun. And I am just realizing, well, we've got another Rubik in our game. We've got another Aghanim shard. Is that gonna brick him up? Is that gonna be the insta crash? I surely hope not, but it would be something.
Hopefully that's been
to
fixed at this
behold.
point. Had a couple of, you know, smaller updates over the last couple of days. Maybe one of them was a hot fix, you know? Otherwise,
Oh, and now.
They just take an illusion? They did.
Yeah. It's honestly really nice for the Enchantress. Those illusions hit hard. You can get a good bit of farm by taking them over. But that's where I think for the Cut, it might just be time to hold this top area of the map as long as you can and then wait out for that next Roche. A little bit sad that they do have to play that waiting game now, but Scourge, ooh, he does not want to be sprouted.
His teammates are kind of coming in. Pingu was just looking for the D ward, but he may have to back his teammate up. Scourge is getting hit. Can they get him with the Pulverize? No, they're going to roar first, so they don't have any sort of defensive play with the Sunder. Okay. On the other side, Bigot was able to finish off Kara, but that's not really a valuable trade. But the Cut are still pushing the right forward. But look at Dot. He is holding up so much better this time around. Well, he's okay, but this fight is really getting sort of mixed up. Pingu is going to get caught off to the side. They will finish him. But back in the lane itself, I think Genic is going to get taken down. But he kept Nick here long enough. Maybe the rest of the lineup can track him down. No, they are going to track him down. The problem is the Nature's Prophet was so far out in front, ET, that he ends up dying. But if they can finish off this trade, it's going to be worth it. And now Nico, okay, goes in, has to blink all the way onto Benjaz, but he will find the kill. And now I think this one is just about over. Kara, oh my, Kara, holy, goddamn, Kara's just going to go all the way in, and he's got it.
Yeah, and really, you get to see the Frenzy there. The Frenzy carried that fight so hard. The micro from Benjaz, it's why B God disintegrates. You just give 75 attack speed over to your NP. He right clicks B God to death. Then it turns around. Then it gives Kara enough attack speed to get that kill onto Nico. Really, just a sad state of affairs because the cut, they have so much more life to give. And in that situation, they're just a little bit too far away from the Terrorblade when they have Lotus Orbs. They should have Force Staffs in queue, and they do have, they just don't have them just yet. But just, I think, a little bit of a misplay when it comes to some of these early items that they've picked up. This means that Scourge doesn't have any way to save him if he's the one that gets dumped on. I think Nick just not being connected to him is really the big mistake there. Because all it really does take is a single Lotus Orb, and then Ravens have to cool it for a second, which lets Scourge heal off his Satanic, but big mistakes to come out from their side. Mistakes that won't really matter too much because Roche wasn't alive. Ravens couldn't swing it either because their carry had died as well, but that's where I think this next Aegis is going to be a huge contest for both sides.
Yeah, now neither side really can afford to let it go for nothing, but... Well... Okay, yeah, now the change comes. Scourge before thought he could get away with it. Teammates weren't close enough, so he dies, so now he says, no more messing around. I'm buying a BKB, which... Yeah, I mean, that's just the easiest and simplest solution possible. Nico? That's aggressive.
Okay, reset. He's got a haste rune as well. Something can be very fortunate to play around, but the rest of the lineup smoked. They're just going to have 2 in the pit here. Without a crit, this isn't the fastest Roche in the world, but an Aegis that they would like nonetheless here. And Ravens, strangely enough, they don't have a Hawk over there. It's a little bit too high, and the Hawk's going to get cleaned up, which means this is a free Aegis.
And Scourge took the Shard as well, so he's got the Demon Zeal, which... It's not really the most popular in the world among the Terrorblade players, but if it's free, you take it, as there's a roar up top. They've locked Nico down. They're going to be able to finish him off, and now Genic just stole Rebound. That is quite nice. They've got more lockdown to work with as B-God ends up falling, and they are tracking Nick, and they catch him, though. Go Flow, I think, would have had to get the maximum range on the Onslaught to even try, so they won't go after it, but they found 2 very big kills in the top lane, and ET, bit by bit, we take a look at the graphs here, the lead is getting sort of chipped away at.
Yeah, they're making, I think, a few too many mistakes here and there. They're splitting up a little bit more than I really like, and they've allowed Ravens to finish off a lot of items. They have 4 BKBs now on Ravens. The only one who doesn't is Genic, because doesn't really need one on the Rubik. If he pops BKB, I feel like he's just going to get right-clicked to death and now look mid. Not level 20, but oh, Scourge.
Oh my god, he's just getting blown up. First life down. Now the question is, can they keep the rest of the cut at arm's length, though? As they do get the lockdown, he didn't pop the BKB in time. He's still dropping low. The Pulverize locks him in. They find the kill. This is disaster territory for the cut. They are going to be able to get a couple of kills. Actually, just the one on Genic in exchange, really, and it's not worth it. That doesn't work. Dodd picks up the double. And
oh, the throws. Man.
Listen, Scourge, I get it. You switch it up. You don't go for the butterfly. You go for the BKB, but my guy, you still have to push the button. It doesn't do anything if you don't activate it.
Yeah, and I think he greeted out for it, thinking that he could BKB after the fact. And Nico's dead. He got the 20 talent. He got the Sprout leash and then showed on the wave. Well, this glyph is going to feel pretty hollow here because at the same time, nobody's playing about buyback on the cut. They did not expect to go from having an Aegis and winning this game to losing their mid-racks and what is probably 2 lanes at this point.
No buybacks. No net worth lead. In fact, now it's a deficit. They went from 8k up now to 4k behind in the span of the last 12 minutes.
And the funny thing is, they literally cannot glyph for the racks because they know if they do, knowing the state of their own buybacks, they probably could end on Ravens. So they have to immediately concede 2 racks. Oh, cut. Just start a fight. Just start any team fight. This was your game, but now you're playing versus a fully completed Silver Edge on the Nature's Prophet. You're playing versus Nengo Flow, who just is going for this level 20 talent now at this point. I just wonder if they've blown this game up in their own faces.
Well, it's getting a little bit rough at this point, and at the end of the day, Listen, you still have a very, very farmed Terrorblade, alright? If Scourge doesn't get caught out without activating his BKB, well, you know what? No, I can't really say that, because he had Aegis there. That was really the fallback plan. You had double sort of foolproof aspects of the plan, and they still lost him. So now at this point, I'm not sure we can give the cut the benefit of the doubt.
No, at this stage, now you're just going to see your buildings kind of cut down. You're going to see that lead grow for the opposing team. He's got a full AC on Dodd. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the silver lining here. I feel like the cut probably would want to just go for a smoke and then try to get some amount of revenge. Maybe Nico just needs to find a Rolling Thunder and actually land on one of these targets. But problem is, now, if you Rolling Thunder and you aren't getting onto that Nature's Prophet, A, you're just going to get sprouted and you're going to be stuck in the leash. But B, you're just getting right-clicked to death. You're at that stage of the game where you don't have any armor items. You don't have anything itemized to deal with it. You were able to smoke out, and I guess by your Agnum Scepter that Nico's been working on for probably 15 minutes at this point, because he was so close and they were winning the game, and then everything just starts to fall apart, and they're still smoked. Finding Genic.
Oh man,
Oh,
he's
but
able to
maybe not.
telekinesis himself. He's going to TP home. Can he get it? Yes, he can. And well, the shard didn't break him. All right, self-telekinesis gets him away safely, and the cut, they sent a good number of heroes up top here to not really get anything.
Ugh. Just does not feel nice anymore to be in this game. You're going to start getting split pushed even harder now as well. Level 25 almost on the Nature's Prophet, and then, oh, you've got a huge problem. Todd even still has his Midicin. He's going to slot it out for a Hex almost assuredly, but then he can start any fight on his own. And that's where, unfortunately for Nico, aside from that Lotus Orb, defensive-wise, you don't have a BKB. You can die first. You will be the target that your opponents go for. And even Scourge, looking over at him, he goes for Sanj and Yasha just to maybe not be stunned as long, but all you are is very tanky. It's where that Daedalus build not coming through means that this Terrorblade's damage is actually pretty substantially limited.
And now, I don't know. He's still got it for free with the shard off the Rosh attempt, but Demon Zeal just doesn't seem all that useful at the moment, so... Okay, as I say that, he activates it, so there you go. Shows what I know, but...
That's good for walking around, but
yeah,
not for fighting.
you are slightly faster. Congratulations, but... Like I said, he didn't have to pay for it, so who cares, but... It just doesn't really seem as useful as maybe putting that onto one of the other heroes, although just about everybody also has their shards, right? I guess Marcy doesn't have hers, so maybe that could have been the play, but at this point, that's kind of splitting hairs, right? They have other things to worry about.
Yeah, and it's funny because the cut, they were so much the aggressor early on, and even once Ravens have this lead, they're still not actively looking for plays. They're just doing a good job of not getting picked off and instead just farming everywhere. It's one of those lineups where you also feel that tricore just growing at a pretty alarming rate as they continue to farm up and find so many of these items. And this is very concerning.
And this is where they stop being quite as concerned. The TB was kind of that end-all be-all, but with this shift, we have seen repeatedly, if they combine all of their power onto the Terrorblade, they are not only capable of killing off Scourge, but they also still have the resources to keep the rest of the cut far enough back where they can't protect him. So they have to feel supremely confident right now at this point. We just waiting for the next potential Roche ET? Because, as you said, neither side is really all too keen on pushing out right now.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, but this is also that point of the game where Ravens just likes to play in. I feel like all of their games have gone over 40 minutes where they're just happy being the ones farming. And there is going to be a turning point here, I think, for the Terrorblade, where he does start to win this matchup yet again, where Dodd is effectively slotted now. Your Nature's Prophet is done farming. He might be able to slot out the power treads, but we'll have to see what he actually ends up going for after it. But slotting out the power treads could simply be just an Aegis going in that same position. And that's where Smoke Up. Smoking up on the Roche's earliest spawner, never a bad choice. Just get vision, get intel, see what's going on, and it will not be the kindest of Roches. Yeah, a farming Roche, I think, honestly, probably more so for the cut than Ravens. Ravens are going to keep on building up on both the Beastmaster and the Primal Beast, but there is going to be that awkward spot where Dodd is kind of done.
He's a little bit tapped out. Maybe now we'll see farming priority sort of get shifted more over towards Benjaz and Yengo Flow, because they still have a decent amount of space to work with. But the problem is farming priority can shift to those other cores, but the split pushing responsibilities really can't. So there's only so much in terms of last hits that you can really give over to your teammates, as Nico. A little bit of a panicky moment there in the middle lane, but he's able to get himself out with both the roll-up and the swashbuckle, and he's just fine as the cut buying a little bit of time. But now what is this? Genic? Very far forward. He's able to use telekinesis to get himself out as Nick... He actually missed with the chain, but they'll still find the kill. So they take down the Rubik, but now they're going to need a little bit more. They're trying to focus on Yengo Flow. He's going to get the Pulverize off. Meanwhile, Pingu tried for a freezing field. It's canceled fairly quickly, but this is still not the fight that Ravens wanted. They need to focus down Scourge, or at least kind of shut him down for most of that fight. Instead, he was just free to fire away from a insanely safe position.
Yeah, it was the one time they tried to start onto the Pangolier instead, and they don't get that kill. They get forced out. Not the best situation. Another buyback. Okay, they're looking for Nick. Okay, does go down, but there's no Roche for 20 seconds. They don't know this either, so maybe a buyback slightly preemptively, but we'll have to see what they do now. Because now you know that they're looking for buybacks. That's where the Nature's Prophet not having that TP cooldown, you can immediately look for that building push. But also, Roche up in 4 seconds. This might be enough for them to just immediately give up on it if you're the cut. And Dodd.
Yep.
Predestined.
Just going to push in. They're going to get through it so quickly. No chance for the cut to make their way over. And who takes what? Let's see.
Ooh. Yeah, refresher to the Beastmaster.
Okay.
Aegis onto the NP. Yeah. Makes sense. And now you've got Double Roar that you're going to have to deal with.
Oh,
Still
Scourge.
Yeah.
Does Dodd know this is real, though?
No.
Oof.
He misses. And Scourge is in a pretty nice spot to try and keep this lane out a little bit longer, but...
The hell? That's an E-Blade for Yengo Flow. Okay, he's just going all in on his... on his combo damage, I guess? That's kind of funky.
Yeah, I think it's just a nice item that builds out of Kaya. Already has it anyway. Could also do a pretty fine job of just owning Scourge after BKB, but it's a slightly different. I think it's the first time we've seen anybody build it thus far.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Could be useful, could be just completely irrelevant, but he's got the money, right? And at this point, you kind of already have the things that you were looking for on Primal Beast. He's able to get in and do his damage, so everything at this point on is a luxury item for him. But in the meantime, Aegis in hand, just shy of 4 minutes on that timer, so Ravens... Well, they can afford to take things slow, but at the end of the day, I mean, pretty much everybody knows the primary target needs to be a push through this bottom lane, right? Unless they just take a teamfight win that's so clear they can go straight onto tier 4s, but I don't think the cut are going to give them that option.
Yeah. Oh, that's a rapier.
Okay, we're going
Scourge.
nuclear.
Just feels like he needs the damage, and I 100% agree. When he turned his build around and decided not to go for that Daedalus, does feel like he's been put under a pretty big amount of pressure, but this is where still, though, Ravens are not the ones making the engagements happen. They're not really fiending for any of these plays so far. I also don't know about the rapier just yet. I think they will be able to scout it out on that illusion from the Enchantress, but Nengo Flow, he does not want to start off by getting Roaring Death.
Well, there's the initiation. Benjaz, he didn't get the roar off. He's not able to get the lockdown. Now he'll pop it, but at this point there's no one to actually hit Scourge, so he's okay. Holding on the back line. Yengo Flow, meanwhile, getting punished over to the east. They weren't able to take him down just yet, but the fight is moving on. They're trying to get onto the Nature's Prophet, not able to finish him off just yet as Benjaz blinks in, Roar deployed. Scourge going to get locked down for now. Can they actually kill him off, though? They've got him in the Sprout. He needs a Sunder target. Needs anyone to save himself here, as he's just trying to lifesteal his way through it with the Satanic, and that might actually work, ET. He's not dead yet. The sidekick even coming in, giving a little bit more, but Dodd back up with that second life. Can Scourge win this fight again? BKB deployed, but here comes Genic into the fight, using a stolen route to lock it down. Scourge hits the deck, so does the Rapier. And that might just be the end of it. Dodd's got the rapier in hand. He's got no cooldown on that TP, and he wants to end the game right now.
Yeah,
And they
and they
will.
even just call it. Yeah. They get out in front. They know their Terrorblade doesn't have buyback. And what a pulverized angle, getting him on the
Ooh.
low ground there. But even what almost felt like the first death of that Terrorblade, he couldn't sunder anything. You couldn't sunder the Enchantress. You were barely caught out of the range. You were still getting rooted up by that Treant, or rather by the Sprout. Just too much of a game. But then also you look at those first 25 minutes and the cut are so far ahead. It's one or two throws. It's picks really on just Bigot and Nico, where it felt like they just got tired of playing this game that they felt like they had already won. And then they just gravely misuse that first Aegis where Scourge just dies in probably the worst possible way they can. And then the comeback starts. And then Ravens start farming. And then they start winning fight after fight after fight. And then they just lose it. They lose control. And you can see after that third Aegis is picked up, win probability also just gives up on the cut. They just don't think that they can win at that point. Even the purchase of the Rapier doesn't change the needle. It doesn't dip any further, maybe 3%. But no, that's a game that I think the cut are going to be incredibly upset about missing. As well as this was their chance after their 2-0 by Felt last night to put themselves ahead of Ravens by 2-0ing Ravens. Instead, they eat this nasty loss, which I feel like is going to have an effect come game 2.
Hmm. And this is the thing with the cut, right? They started off, what is it, 6-2 at this point coming into this matchup, but then you get both the highs and the lows. You get that inconsistency that has plagued them so long. They get 0-2'd by Felt last night, and then they lose a game they had no business losing here against Ravens. So they are improving. You can't deny that, but there's still a little bit of that old version of the cut that's still lingering that they haven't been able to kill yet.
Yeah, and now I just hope come game 2, is Primal Beast worth banning? Is Primal Beast worth first phasing? I don't know. I felt like that hero had no business doing as much as it did whenever things started to settle down for Ravens, but yeah, no, that's a tough one for the cut. I just hope they can get that mental reset coming, because that type of game to lose ain't easy.
Yeah, we'll see where they stand in terms of cohesion, mentality, general mood, I guess, really, after taking a tough loss there. But it is Ravens securing at least 1 point here in this matchup. They now look for the 2-0, and if they take a 2-0 here, that basically gives them not just first place, but really a secure tiebreaker for the #1 seed as well. I don't really know, barring any sort of massive collapse from them, who would catch up. So they have a chance to really put themselves in the driver's seat here at the cut's expense. So Game 2 draft going to be coming up on the other side of the break, so stick around. When we return, it'll be the final match of the night.